Hi guys, so in today's video we are going to discuss the latest exam report for tax paper tax. Uh, sorry, recently published by ACCA. So here in this video we are going to just discuss the common mistake that students should avoid in their upcoming attempt so that it will not lead them to lose mark. Okay, even 1 marks is very important to crack this paper, so that's why it's very important to you should keep just make a note of this mistake and try to avoid this in a real exam. So first is, don't start calculating immediately. Whenever you see the tax question, don't just start right away. Okay, so first of all, it is very important to read the question properly, because in tax is very vast paper, and also in scenario there are lots of information provided, so not all figure will be required to perform the calculation. So it is very important to first understand what has been asked, then perform the calculation accordingly. So when you see a tax question, don't start calculating straight away. Read the question properly first. Tax question contain a lot of information, but not every figure will be included in your calculation. First, understand what the income or expense relates to, and then decide the correct tax treatment. Simple approach: read, identify, decide the treatment, and then perform the calculation. So it is very important, guys. So it is very important to read the scenario very carefully. Now, second is, don't assume every expense is deductible. This is very common mistake in the tax paper, because whenever students used to see the expense in the account given, they automatically deduct those expense for the tax calculation purpose. But remember, the profit that comes from account is not equal to the profit on which we pay the tax. Okay, so the both of them are not same. We need to make some adjustment in the income as well as expense. Then we need to perform the calculation, and we will decide how much tax that we need to pay. So this is very common mistake. So for every expense, try to ask yourself: is this is allowable from the tax purpose? If not, then make necessary adjustment. And even in Copland book, there are lots of rules. I think table is given which what kind of expense will be allowable and not allowable. Just have a confidence on that as well. Now, next is, don't apply tax rule without looking at the situation. Knowing the rule is not enough in tax, guys. You need to also understand what are those rules, where it will be applicable, and what are conditions to apply those rules. And if that is the case, how much relief will be given. So, knowing the rule is not enough. You also need to understand whether the rule applied to the particular situation in the question. For example, if you see the relief that you have studied, don't automatically apply it. First, check whether taxpayer meet the condition for that relief or not. Okay, so that's why it's very important to understand what is the rule or what is the relief, where it will be applicable, what are the condition, and how much. For example, if a question is talking about investor relief, there are certain conditions. And there are also how much the relief will be available. It is also given in the concept. Similarly for BADR relief. So it is very important to understand the rule. Just not apply that rule because you see in the question or requirement. You need to first check whether it is applicable to that particular question or not. 4. Don't miss a small adjustment. Tax question can contain several small items. Students sometimes focus on the big figure and miss the small one. So once you finish your calculation, go back to the question and quickly check, have I considered all relevant items provided in the question? So this will save your marks, even 1, 2, 3 marks, like that has been allocated to that particular part. So it is very important to recheck. Okay. Again, remember guys, accounting profit is not same as the taxable profit. There are certain adjustment that we need to check and to arrive at the taxable amount. So just look for the question, what are those adjustment given, and apply it accordingly. Now, 6. So you're working. So guys, this is very important for other paper as well. So don't just write the final answer just because you calculate in the mind. It is very important to show the clear working along with proper heading and like linking the figure to the formulas. Because suppose mm, step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, we need to perform the calculation to get the final answer, and each step is dependent on each other. In that case, if we have shown detailed working, suppose we did wrong in step 2, and based on that, we calculated further figure. So, if you have provided detailed working, you will lose only marks for the step 2. But even if you perform the wrong calculation and you take that figure and perform other calculation or as well as explanation, you will still get credit. So this is known as own figure rule. So that's why don't just write the final figure just because you calculated in your own mind. Try to show your detail working. Okay. Now check the tax here. Guys, this is very important. Always ensure before you are starting the preparation of tax paper, always ensure to pick up the material because tax rules, I mean the rates, allowance changes every year. So just make sure the study material or kit that you have picked up is relevant or applicable to that particular attempt or not. Because once you will pick the wrong material, the wrong rate, wrong allowance, wrong threshold will be used in the question, and even though you guys know the concept technique, you will still lose the marks. You will fail in the exam. So before using any rate, allowance, or threshold, check which the question relates to. Don't use the rate simply because you remember it from the question or you practice before. Make it a habit of to ask yourself which tax year I am dealing with. Then use the relevant figure for that year. Okay. So examiner is talking from other perspective, like in exam, if they're asking for the previous figure, in that case you need to check the rate, allowance, and threshold for that particular tax year. Okay? So now keep written explanation clear and relevant. If question asks you to explain something, like don't write the whole textbook paragraph, focus on what is the issue and what is the tax treatment required and why. To give the answer that question is actually asking for, use the fact given in the scenario where relevant. So just don't write the study text paragraph or something that you haven't learned from notes until and unless you will link those that particular concept or rule to the scenario, you won't get the credit. So it is very important to link the rules that you have learned before to the scenario given. Just don't write the whole paragraph given that you have learned from the book or notes. Okay. Don't spend too long on one calculation. So time management is very important because sometimes students don't fail because they lack concept or technique, but they fail because they're spending too much time in one particular question. Due to that, they fail to manage the time and rest of the question left unanswered. So if you got stuck in one calculation, don't spend huge amount of time trying to solving it. Remember, there are marks available elsewhere in the exam. So move on, collect the easier marks and come back to difficult part if you have time left at the end. Okay. Okay. Now, don't just read the answer, attempt the question. This is probably one of the most important things for tax preparation. Read the question and reading the question and then looking at the solution can make you feel like you understand it. But in real exam, you have to do the calculation by yourself. So, guys, first try to attempt the question without looking the standard answer provided. Then check your solution with that particular standard and compare it and ask, did I use the correct tax treatment or did I miss any adjustment, or also did I use the correct tax rate allowance provided in the exam, also where exactly I did the mistake. So mistake are the one of the best revision tool that you will have. And also once we will do one, like suppose whatever mistake we are doing, it will be keep in the mind. Okay, and so that we will also ensure we will not repeat this in future. So guys, these are the common mistake that the student used to do in the tax paper. Try to avoid this mistake in upcoming attempt.